So we have managed to track him down, the man who took the biggest paycheck, I think, in Queensland bass fishing this year, Timmy Steenhuis. And, mate, you did it from the smallest boat in the field, mate. I want you to, firstly, congratulations, but firstly, take us through your top little Timmy, mate. What did you fish the Open in this year?
A 4.1. I think it was one of the original tournament boats of about 20 years ago or more, an Aquamaster Saratoga.
Wow, the old Aquamasters have been around a long time. Brett Thompson, who was the first and second years AOY in bass, used to use an Aquamaster as well. So yeah, back 20 years ago, they were the flashiest boat in the fleet. How did it compare to all the other boats there?
It might have been a bit slower, but have some very basic electronics on it. But it did the job. It did the job quite well, actually. Yeah.
Oh, that it did, mate. You weighed both the heaviest and the second heaviest bags of the whole tournament in the Rapala BAS Queensland Open. And in fact, all us Queenslanders love to say that the Queensland weights, they cracked all over the New South Wales people's weights. The AC weighed over 6 kilos each day. And in the background, it's cutaway here. We're going to have a little bit of footage of you winding some of these fish in. The fact was, we could see you basically from the start line the whole time. You don't have to go a long way in Cania to get the job done, do you?
No, that's right. I think in pre-fish and the 2 days fishing, I used less than 7 litres fuel.
That's it, and that's in an old two-stroke, isn't it? That's in an inefficient motor.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So take us through your pre-fish and your tournament days. What got you onto the pattern that puts you so far ahead of everyone else on the lake this weekend?
It's a massive case of who shares wins. I got a phone call 2 weeks, a week before the pre-fish ban. Matthew Langford from Australian Freshwater Fishing Charters said, "Hey, you want to tag along for my pre-fish for the Oz Open?" And I wasn't doing anything, so I thought, yeah, why not? And so off I went.
And, awesome. And what did you refine?
Yeah, there were a lot of fish in that main basin. There were some definite individual schools, but in the pre-fish on Friday, they dispersed a bit and they were more scattered, but they were still there. And I was pretty confident that I could get 5 each day. It was just the size of them. I had to go through a lot of the 5 to 800 grams to get to those bigger fish. Yeah, and so I didn't leave that main basin for the whole days of fishing. I did a bit of scooting around in pre-fish. That's probably where I used 6 litres of fuel.
Mate, take us through the pattern that did the job for you. You were saying you were using the John Deere coloured plastics, and anyone who's not involved in bass fishing knows that is possibly the world's ugliest plastic. Have you got one there to show us?
Yeah, there's the basic one. I pre-rigged these, so I like to have, and I probably got about 3 of them in a little tray that I had sitting next to me all day. So you can see right in the back there for the short strike, there's a tiny little stinger hook.
Yep.
So I just rigged it normally and then get a needle and a 8-pound braid and thread that 8-pound braid back to the eye and tie it on there. So it turned those short strikes into fish because you're getting a lot of tap, tap, tap on the tail without hitting the main hook. So that worked quite well. And there's the other side.
That's awesome.
Lovely Australian colour, green and gold, yeah.
That's it. And so tell us what's the jig head and what's the brand of bait that you're using there?
Oh, so that's a John Deere slider, and you'd have to go through some retro discount bins to find a nitro 5/8 fluoro green jig head that glows in the dark.
Yep.
I don't think they've been made for a very long time. I get the feeling that was actually handed to me by Matty Fraser on my first ever Bass Pro event down at, I think it was Lake Glenbourne, back when there was 2 fiberglass boats in the field.
Wow. So there you go. You've got a bit of bassin history there, and deliver it to you by the man who actually designed and made the bait. So, Tim, we've had a little bit of problems with the video feed there, but we've got you on audio. Tell us about the second lure that you used to win the Open.
So, a Queensland-made spoon, G2.
Yep, that's a Jason Ehrlich lure, isn't it, that one, a hot bite?
That's right, a hot bite G2. Yeah, just a small one there in a blue and yellow colour. I'll send you a photo of that later so you can show the kids at home.
That's awesome, mate. And tell us how you fish both the slider and the G2. Those fish weren't hanging just under the surface. They were a fair way down. Explain your retrieve for these lures.
Yeah, so by the end of 3 days, I had counting 5 to 10 down pat. So they're very well versed. They were sitting in between 30 and 40 foot of water, in about 60 to 80 foot of water.
Yeah, they were really suspending halfway to the bottom, weren't they? And from what I could see, they were feeding on schools of baitfish. Like, there were really small schools of baitfish all over the joint. And if you found the bait, there'd be bass under them, wouldn't there?
That's right. So I got a very basic Lance G2 sounder on. Gen 2, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. HDS Gen 2 sounder, just a little 7-inch. And all I was doing, in the pre-fish, I marked 3 basic spaces along the distance of the that bay, and I just go between the 3 of them, just side scanning and looking for schools of bait and cast over the top of them. Give it a 10 count down, 5 wide, then open the spool, another 5 count down and 5 winds, and just repeated that back to the boat, both for the soft plastic and the spoon. Yeah.
Mate, I noticed in your highlights you were throwing them on spin gear a lot. Take us through your spin outfit.
So it's some very basic stuff here. Well, I say basic, it's good gear, but you don't have to pay a fortune for it. So the one I threw the soft plastic on was a Daiwa Wild Weasel, matched with a Daiwa Egg 3000. Yep. Some Nitlon braid, 8 pounds. Yeah. Yep. And then a 10 pound FC Rock Leader. Yeah.
Mate, I noticed you went through a lot of fish. We were watching your highlights. You were catching plenty of fish. You were doing the right thing. As soon as you landed the fish, you were venting the swim bladder because they were coming from that depth. It's how many fish do you reckon you caught over your time at Cania, over the practice days and the tournament days?
Obviously, the practice days, I just grabbed schools and just kept motoring around and kept looking and searching where to find different areas to go to, because as you know, with school fish, if you press them a bit, they don't like it too much, so they have to have a bit up the sleeve. But on the actual fishing days, I would have got 30 fish a day at least, yeah.
That's awesome, mate. Now, what do you think you did differently from everyone else in the field? You caught the biggest and the second biggest limits. What do you think you were doing that was different from everyone else? And there were some good anglers up there, including Matty Langford, who shared the time in the boat with you. What were you doing differently?
I just stayed with a single plan. I had a couple of different things that I would try if they shut down in the basin, but I got lucky and they stayed on the bite the whole time, so I didn't have to change. But I just stayed with it. I noticed a lot of boats coming back and forth to the main basin and going again. They obviously had their strategy, but I just stuck with that one plan, and it paid off, just that persistency.
It did indeed, mate. And you also caught the big bass of the Open. It won you a 13 fishing concept reel, a nice little bait cast reel there. Take us through that fish. It weighed over 1.8 kilos. It was a cracking condition fish, wasn't it? Big and fat.
Yeah, that's right. So again, with Matty in the pre-fish weekend, we had a little bit of a pattern fishing those deep walls, and there's a couple of deep walls there in the main basin. Yep. So just getting nice and close to them and casting parallel. And you see fish on the sounder in front of you, which you can't do with my sounder, but on his you could. And so, like, once I found 1 or 2 underneath me, I'm pretty sure that they were out in front of me. And that's how I got that fish, just fishing parallel, and just not worrying about what was in the bottom, just throw the spoon in there and just keep going. Yeah.
Mate, it was a great performance. It was out of the littlest boat in the field, mate, and I tell you what, it was a pretty good round of applause when it was announced that you were the winner by a fair margin. What you going to do with the $5,000? You going to invest in another old-fashioned sounder? So you got one at the front, one at the back, or what?
Well, on the way up there, I dropped big gear out of my 4-wheel drive, so I've got to get a new gearbox for that. So,
it's all gone already.
So that'll be a bit of it gone. I might have enough to nick down to the local seafood shop and get some prawns and a 6-pack to celebrate with. That might be about it gone then.
Well, I'll tell you what, that is a truly Queensland way to celebrate the Queensland Open, mate. And thank you very much for making the time to join us. And who shares wins yourself, mate. You're talking to people that may think, I'm going to Cania, I want to throw a few baits, and now look, they know what to do and where to do it, so they might be able to catch some of these great bass as well. How good a fishery is Cania?
Oh, it's fantastic. I know in the pre-fish we did just about everything. We caught them on jigs and jackals and jerk baits and all kinds of things. So, yeah, there's options.
And
Great bait, yeah.
one final comment is Bundaberg first, Jordan from Bundaberg second. What is it in the water of the Bundaberg that makes you a good bass fisherman?
I don't know about the water, but there is a factory over here that produces an inspirational and brain-altering tonic that I think is very good for your thought process.
Well, but you must, the fishing ability of the big white polar bear has definitely rubbed off on you guys. Congratulations on your win, Timmy, and thanks very much for joining us this afternoon.
Well, thank you. I must say it was one of the most humbling experiences of my life, standing up there with you, having a chat on winning and looking back and seeing all those quality anglers there. To beat them was, just an incredible experience, yeah?
Mate,
absolutely amazing.
Congratulations, mate. You were a very popular winner. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, thanks, mate. Cheers. Bye.